And I have to apologize, I forgot to shave this morning, and I forgot to shave for like 3 years, so you're a good-looking crowd, and I'm a little embarrassed about that. I'm going to try to cover more than just virtual reality today. We're going to touch on it. I was asked to sort of speak on the idea of innovation, virtual reality being part of that, but we're going to go through a bit about what secret location is, what we do, talk about innovation and sort of a process and some projects around that, and then maybe touch upon what's next, and hopefully we have some room for questions at the end. So about secret location, first off, we're in Toronto and Los Angeles. I deal with that joke a lot. And we're essentially a collective of 70 plus between the two offices of creative people, producers, strategists, UX experts, animators, storytellers. But ultimately, we've all found ourselves under one roof as makers. Our common goal is to make things, preferably make things that haven't been done before. More officially, our business verticals lie in brand and advertising, entertainment, and original technology. And what we find is the best results when you combine all of these three things, meaning that audiences are always looking for cutting-edge technology, and you need to fund them, and obviously everyone wants to be entertained and gain that audience. So we've branded ourselves as a content studio for emerging platforms. Being content creators in this room, I don't have to explain to anyone what a content studio is. That's pretty obvious. But in terms of emerging platforms, we've pursued a number through the years, and we've always made content for things like mobile applications, social media, over-the-top solutions, wearables, and virtual reality. So we're not just a virtual reality shop, although that is one of our focuses right now in the pursuit of emerging platforms. And by pursuing emerging platforms, this is our commitment to being innovative. If there's something that's on the horizon, a new piece of technology, we have no choice but to learn what it does and combine it with things that hopefully haven't been combined with before. So I was asked to speak about innovation real quick and talk about sort of the process for innovation, and there is no process. So that's the end of my presentation. Thank you, everyone, for coming out today. But there's an element of that's true. It's kind of like science, right? Like you've got a hypothesis, but you just kind of hope that you're proven wrong. So there is no official process for innovation, but if there were a recipe from my life, it would look like this: fantasy and formula. No equal sign. I don't know what that means yet. But so in other words, you have the idea and you have the process. And if you have a great idea and you've got a way to execute that idea, you can pretty much innovate on anything, in my opinion. So let's look at the idea for a second. Oh man, as a creative, the idea is the easy part. You just dream big, and it's so beautiful and perfect. And you have to almost question what are the elements of a good idea as you go. So to us, there are three sections of a good idea. It's story, it's the form that it takes, and it's the functionality. So like Nina mentioned in the last talk, we're all in the pursuit of a good story, right? So if you can keep that at the core, then that's sort of the fundamentals of your idea. You then just decide what form it takes. Is it an installation? Is it a website? Is it a mobile app? Is it an immersive experience? And then ultimately you decide on the functionality, how it works, how it spreads, what users do with it, what are the moving parts, and how do they fit together. And eventually you'll find that if you look at these three things in buckets, the sign of a good idea is that they merge together. The story becomes, you can't differentiate between the story and the form and the function at a certain point. Which brings us to the process. Now you've got this great idea and this awesome ideal. How are you going to build it? The natural pursuit of process is this: A, and then B, and then C, right? Logical steps to a logical conclusion. But over the years, as we've tried to mash together new technologies, which are completely unpredictable, it looks like this. They become totally interdependent on one another. You're kind of stuck saying, well, I can't do this because I'm waiting for this guy to do that. So what we decided to do a long time ago was to pursue iterations. So instead of ABC, it's 1, 2, 3 in a loop, as many times as you can achieve that loop as possible. And the names we've given to these stages are discovery, schematics, and execution. So you discover, you research, you ask the questions, you gather the answers, you mock it up, you prototype it, you sketch it, whatever your version of schematics is in the process, and then you build it. And then by building it, you find out how you messed up, and then you start the process over. That's a discovery. So ultimately, we want to do this as many times as we can before we run out of time. And between those two pieces, fantasy and formula, and the sort of subcomponents of each, this is, in my opinion, the recipe for innovation. So promise to touch on virtual reality real quick. I think that the plan is to have a setup here somewhere of our pieces. So I think some of my coworkers are doing that right now. So hopefully you'll be able to go through some of these. But we cut our teeth on virtual reality early on. Not early on like 90s early on like 2-3 years ago early on. We did a piece for Fox for Comic-Con on Sleepy Hollow. And here we just made an immersive piece and an installation where you got brought into the Sleepy Hollow barn, you met Ichabod Crane, you got your head chopped off, and you got a little social component as you left. And it did really well at Comic-Con. We dove into the horror realm, which is obviously perfect for virtual reality with the piece we did for Insidious 3. Here it was also an installation where users had to kind of run a gauntlet of a haunted house. Ultimately, they got into the virtual reality experience, got scared by the bride in black, took off their headset, and then got scared by the bride in black again in real life. So, and then she followed them to their house after, and it was really good. No, she didn't do that. Next, we did a piece for LA Phil. LA Philharmonic asked us to be a part of an initiative that brought the symphony to underprivileged communities in Los Angeles. So instead of people having to go to the concert hall to experience the symphony was going to come to them through virtual reality. This has some audio. I don't know if we got... Here we go. So ultimately, we filmed the orchestra with a multitude of cameras, and then we visualized the music as, you know, the mind's eye would see it, so that it would have an effect in virtual reality. We also did a piece for Frontline in conjunction with an amazing documentary that they did about the Ebola epidemic. And here we were able to bring users from a microscopic level to basically a planetary level as they followed the journey of this terrible virus. We recorded in West Africa with our virtual reality cameras. We put together a piece that, basically follows the whole story of decision-making from a local to an international scale. And with that, the question is, what's next? What's next for us at Secret Location? What's next for the industry? At Secret Location, we've started this little room of closely packed nerds together, and we're calling Story Lab. It's a R&D lab that's specifically focused on virtual reality currently, but that will hopefully evolve in the future. On a larger scale, here's a quote that I Googled and copied and pasted into this presentation. And I like it because it's a big number. The VR and AR industry is predicted to be $150 billion by 2020. Now, I can't remember which blogger wrote this, but they could have easily made it up. But you see these big predictions floating around often. And, you know, on one hand, really excited about that. On the other hand, everyone calm down, because this industry is the Wild West right now. Anything can happen, and that's the reality. Virtual reality was here before, it disappeared. It's here again. We're hoping that it's here to stay, and we're hoping that it's going to be huge. But regardless, emerging platforms are here to stay. So it could be virtual reality. It could be augmented reality. What's going to happen when artificial intelligence plays a role in our entertainment and our consumption of content? What's going to happen when nanotechnology allows us to experience something through taking a pill or getting an injection? It's crazy to think, right? But ultimately, as content creators, we have to keep this in mind. This is a quote that I love from John Lasseter at Pixar, and it's kind of the underbelly of how we run at Secret Location. The art challenges the technology, and the technology inspires the art. It's a dance between the two. And for us in this room, our art is content, and content is king, and content will always be king. Now, content is also changing, because it's at the influence of technology. So instead of running away from this, we should celebrate this. And we should accept the fact that the kingdom is constantly changing. Because as creators, as content creators, there's one thing that's for sure, and that this is the most exciting time to be alive. And that's the end of the presentation. I'd love to take some questions.
Are there questions for Pietro?
Yep.
How does artificial intelligence...
Oh, hold on. Can we just wait for the mic? Sorry. I want to make sure your question is heard.
Hi there. Just the importance of artificial intelligence and the breakthroughs that are happening with all the data sets of everything, the internet of everything, and all thoughts and photographs.
Right. Yep.
How is that going to play out, and where are the minds sitting that can solve these problems?
Oh man, they're sitting right here. These are the minds. I'd love to go for a beer and talk about that question for forever and ever. It's something that I'm personally excited to see the answer to. I don't think anyone knows how it will turn out. I'm fascinated with how science fiction plays a role in that. Like we can read science fiction where these minds dream up answers to how the future will be. A lot of the times they're right. It comes true. Sometimes 100 years beforehand. There's also ways of predicting future technologies through science fact, like Ray Kurzweil writes about the singularity and that type of thing, using algorithms to predict what technology will do in the future. That's another way of looking at it. So you can be inspired by art or fact.
We'll be asleep watching all our shows and photographs.
Yeah, we could. Yeah, just download the show into your brain. It'd be done.
Great stuff.
Thank you.
I think we got a question here.
I find this technology fascinating, but I'm wondering, aside from maybe selling bottles of vodka or, bed linens,
right? Yeah.
I'm wondering if you maybe address the social implications of this technology. For example, if I can be immersed in a world that gives me a completely different outlook. So I'm a redneck from Georgia, and I'm voting Donald Trump. And I put on your glasses, I get in your world, and I see something else. I wonder if you maybe could talk the social justice side of this or the implications.
For sure. Try to answer this in a short way because I'm also very interested in that. Technology's also always challenged our social implications of society. You look at when Google Glass came out, the term glass hole came out soon after that, where people started wearing them into restaurants, and it's like, don't film me, right? So no doubt there will be social implications of this type of technology. We already see the potential of it affecting education, science, medicine, simulations, architecture, all of that stuff. So there are implications beyond just entertainment that no doubt we'll be seeing. But yeah, I think that it's a totally new visual language. It's gonna require all new social skills to experience this together, and it's just gonna be exciting to see what will happen. I look forward to the day where technology is a mass leveler, where we can share each other's experiences and each other's backgrounds. So that's an exciting time. Or technology could become self-aware and kill us all. So that's the other side of it. So it's one or the other. Let's hope for the former.
For one more. I think Guillaume has the mic.
Yeah, I wanted to touch on a couple topics for you, just to maybe give everybody a sense of Google Cardboard and the accessibility and how the public will accept this kind of new technology. Just to give us kind of a glimpse of what's happening right now and what's coming up very shortly. And the other question is, I'm very interested in VR and coming from music, how to make something interesting when it comes to music videos, and I'm having a really hard time to come up with some storytelling and just like an experience that will not feel like gimmicky. And I'm talking to different directors, and it seems very limited at this point in terms of the experience that I can bring to true fans and just bring something real. So yeah, these two questions.
So I'll answer the latter of the two first the best way I can. It really is story, form, and function, right? Figure out what that story is. If function is locked as virtual reality, the tech is locked, you want to do a virtual reality music video. That should inform the art factor, the form of it, and I would start with a good story, because that's how you're going to get people convinced that this is a great idea. And the more you attack those three things, the more it'll blend together as that perfect piece. I forgot the first question. Google Cardboard. So there are a lot of options open to the public already, but the industry's still in its infancy in virtual reality. There are big players in the game: Facebook, Google, Samsung, HTC, Sony. So there are a range of hardwares that are coming available very soon. Some of them are more the Ferrari end, targeting high-end gamers, the mega nerds with supercomputers in their mom's basements. And then the other end of things are more accessible. So Google Cardboard is obviously a thing that costs a couple dollars. You fold it up, you put your smartphone in it, and then you can experience virtual reality. So there's a broad range of solutions available to the consumer already, and that's just going to keep going. The high end will keep getting higher, and maybe the lower end will even become more accessible than it already is.
That's great. Thanks so much, Pietro Gagliano.
Thank you very much, everyone.